After rendering in ZBrush, it takes a long time to load all these render passes into a file. So I was looking for a way to speed the process and rather than speed the process, automate the process so that I get the same thing every time. And I found this plugin called exportBPRpasses. And the documentation on how to install it is very clear. So just search online for that, find this page, and do it from there. But once you get it installed, I'm just going to show you basically what it does for you. It's going to export automatically all of these different maps, with one exception. It's not going to export the SSS, which is the subsurface scattering. It's not going to export the floor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit. Let me go and make sure my folder is empty, because it's going to by default export it to the same folder. And I want my Photoshop action to look at that folder. I'm going to use a Photoshop action to put all those in one document, because that's what takes so long. It's just annoying. So I'm going to click export, and it's going to put it in the folder which I call BPR _render _pass. I'm going to name it image. And again, the only one that it does, it says exported all render passes, but it didn't really do that. It didn't do the SSS. So I'm going to click SSS, leave that default file name. And the reason I use the default file names is I set up a Photoshop action to do this for me. And the Photoshop action is very long and complicated, but it's really not that hard to make. And let me just show you what it does, and then I'll show you the basics of how to make it. So what I'm going to do is, let me find the master layer up here. Here we go. And I'm just going to hit play. And what it's doing is it's merging all of those documents into one layer. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it trachea. And I will show you what that did for us. So I told the Photoshop action that I wanted this on its own layer. I wanted a background layer of white. And it takes all those render passes and puts them in here and renames them. Okay? So this is, so that's the ambient occlusion pass, that's the subsurface scattering pass, that's the depth pass, the shadow pass, and the mask, and obviously the color, right? And so then I can get any of those and do what I want, do what I need to do for the document. All right, and I can show you how to make the Photoshop action, but basically all I did was I created a new action. I told it to open the image shaded layer, and this is why I use the default name, so that Photoshop just goes to this folder and looks for this exact name. And so it's important that you not change those names. And then what I did was I just did open, I'm only going to do one of these, but I did the mask, and I'm going to do select all, copy, close, paste. Okay? And then with this active, I'm going to make a selection of this by holding down Command. There's probably a better way to do this, but this is how I do it. I Command click on the RGB layer. I hit the mask button. And then I double click on alpha 1 and name it mask _ pass. I even spell it right, mask _ pass. Okay, and then I just do that with the other layers. In this case, I'm going to go through and then I would go through and delete this layer. I've taken this selection. I'm going to hit Command J, which is going to make new layer from copy. It's right here. Well, it used to be there. It's not there anymore. Okay, well, Command J. And that will put it on its own layer. I'm going to go back to the background layer. I'm going to hit D for default black and white as the foreground and background colors, and Command delete, which will fill the background with white. There are a million ways to do that. And that's it. And so I'm going to go through, and like I said, if I can post this, I will. But you're going to do the same thing with all the other passes. And That's it. And then the only other thing you need to know is that if you look under the action, I'm going to stop that action. The only other thing you need to know is that under the save, I have checked this little dialog, and that means when it gets to that, it'll bring up the dialog and let me give it a name. That's the only thing it does. So that's it. And that way you can have all of your passes from ZBrush saved out into one Photoshop document, and it's a big time saver. All right, thank you very much.